It was an ordinary holiday morning, the kind where the sun seemed to promise a day of leisure and laughter. I was in the hallway, coaxing my son, Harry, to hurry up for his baseball game when the world as I knew it shattered. Opening the door, I froze. There, like a ghost from a past life, stood Peter, my husband, who had vanished without a trace 3 years ago. "This is our home," he declared, his voice a strange mixture of assertiveness and uncertainty. Before I could fully process his presence, another figure emerged from behind him, Daisy, my sister-in-law. The sight of her stirred a nest of vipers in my stomach. "We're going to take custody of Harry," Daisy said, her voice dripping with a sickly sweetness I remembered all too well. How many times had I speculated about this very scenario? Peter and Daisy disappearing around the same time couldn't just be a coincidence. But with the whirlwind of daily life and limited resources, I had never been able to dig deeper into their disappearance. Lost in these thoughts, I barely registered Harry's voice behind me. "Hey, Mom, who are you talking to?" My heart clenched. He stood there, my brave little boy, unaware of the storm about to break. Daisy turned her predatory smile towards him. "Oh, it's nice to finally meet you. You're Harry, right? I've wanted to meet you for so long." Her voice churned my insides. This same voice had charmed everyone around her, masking the manipulative, cruel nature I knew too well, the voice I had hoped to never hear again. Harry looked at me, confused, and then back at them. "Dad, what are you doing here? And who is she?" He moved closer to me, instinctively sensing the tension. Peter and Daisy stood there, gaping like fish out of water, clearly not expecting this confrontation. Before they could recover, Harry continued, his voice tinged with anger, "We're about to leave. Move." It was then that Peter and Daisy noticed something behind me. Their faces drained of color. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Standing there was my daughter, Lily, cradled in Harry's arms. Peter's eyes widened in shock, his gaze flicking between Lily and me. "Peter, Daisy," I started, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart. 3 years ago, you left without a word. I was left alone to pick up the pieces, to raise Harry, and to face an unexpected pregnancy." I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. Daisy's eyes narrowed, but I continued, "I'm not the same person you abandoned. I fought hard to build a life for my children and me, and I won't let you waltz back in to destroy that." Their faces reflected shock, disbelief, and, for a fleeting moment, guilt. But it was too late for guilt, the wounds they had inflicted ran too deep. "Please leave," I said firmly. "You have no right to be here." Peter opened his mouth, likely to spout some excuse or plea, but I didn't want to hear it. I closed the door on them, on the past they represented. Turning back to my children, I saw Harry looking at me with newfound respect, and Lily gurgling blissfully, unaware of the storm that had just passed. I took a deep breath, steadying my racing heart. This was just the beginning. The battle lines were drawn, and I was ready to fight for my family's future. The days following Peter and Daisy's unwelcome visit were a whirlwind of emotions and memories, a tidal wave that threatened to drown me. I found myself revisiting the dark days after Peter's disappearance, the sleepless nights filled with worry, and the countless hours I spent questioning what I could have done differently. Harry had struggled the most. Once a cheerful and outgoing boy, he became sullen and withdrawn, his bright eyes dimming. I remembered the countless dinners he pushed away, the school events he begged me to skip, and the cold, distant looks that replaced his warm smiles. It tore at my heart, but I couldn't find a way to reach him. As I brooded over these memories, Lily's innocent laughter echoed through the house, a stark contrast to the storm raging within me. She was my unexpected blessing, a light in the darkness of Peter's betrayal. Her birth had been a turning point for me, a moment of profound strength and vulnerability. One evening, as I tucked Harry into bed, he turned to me with serious eyes. "Mom, why did Dad leave us? Did we do something wrong?" His question hit me like a physical blow. "No, honey, you did nothing wrong," I assured him. "Sometimes adults make choices that don't make sense, and it's not because of anything you did." "But why did he come back? And with Aunt Daisy?" The confusion in his voice was heartbreaking. I sighed, searching for the right words. "I don't know why they came back, but I do know that we are a family, you, me, and Lily. We'll get through this together." He nodded slowly, his young face etched with worries no child should bear. "I trust you, Mom. I just wish things were like before." I kissed his forehead, whispering, "I know, my love. I wish that too." The next day, I was jolted out of my reverie by a call from my lawyer, Mr. Thompson. "Maya, we need to discuss your legal options. Peter and Daisy's claim is baseless, but we should prepare a case." I listened, my mind racing. This was my chance to fight back, to ensure that Peter and Daisy couldn't hurt us anymore. "Let's do it," I said firmly. "I want to protect my children, and I won't let them be used as pawns in whatever game Peter and Daisy are playing." Mr. Thompson's voice was reassuring. "You're making the right decision. I'll start preparing the documents. We'll show them that they can't just walk over you." As I hung up, a sense of determination settled over me. Peter and Daisy had underestimated me, thinking I would crumble under their pressure. But they were wrong. I was stronger now, tempered by the trials I had faced. I looked at Harry playing with Lily and knew that I would do whatever it took to keep them safe. This was no longer just about revenge, it was about justice for my children and me. Peter and Daisy had awakened a fierce protectiveness in me, and I was ready to fight back with everything I had. As the days turned into weeks, my resolve hardened like steel. I was prepared for the legal battle ahead, but nothing could have prepared me for the emotional warfare that ensued. Peter and Daisy, like vultures circling their prey, began their campaign to wear me down. One afternoon, as I collected Harry from school, I found them waiting, their presence a dark cloud on the sunny day. Daisy's voice was sickeningly sweet as she called out to Harry, "Hi, sweetie. We've missed you so much." Harry clung to my hand, his body tense. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Peter stepped forward, his expression one of feigned concern. "We just wanted to see you, son. We're your family too, you know." I felt a surge of anger. "You lost the right to call yourself his family when you abandoned him," I snapped, pulling Harry closer. Daisy's eyes narrowed, her facade slipping. "Maya, you can't keep him from us. We have rights." "Rights? You have no rights here," I retorted, my voice cold. "You both made your choice 3 years ago. Now live with it." Peter's face twisted in anger. "You think you're so perfect, Maya. You're just a bitter woman who couldn't keep her husband happy." I could feel Harry's grip tighten on my hand, his small body shaking. "Let's go, Harry," I said, turning to leave. But Daisy wasn't done. "You'll regret this, Maya. We get what we want. We always do." Their threats echoed in my ears as we walked away, but I wouldn't let them see my fear. I had to be strong for Harry and Lily. That night, as I lay in bed, their words haunted me. The idea of losing Harry to those two was unbearable. I couldn't let it happen, I had to be smarter, stronger. The next day, I met with Mr. Thompson, my determination like a shield around me. "I want full custody of Harry, and I want Peter and Daisy to have no visitation rights," I said firmly. Mr. Thompson nodded. "It's going to be a tough battle, but I believe we can win this. You're a good mother, Maya. The court will see that." As the legal preparations progressed, I found an unexpected ally in my own home, Harry. One evening, he came to me, his young face set in a serious expression. "Mom, I want to tell the judge that I want to stay with you. Dad and Aunt Daisy, they're not my family, not really." Tears welled in my eyes as I hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Harry. That means more to me than you'll ever know." The day of the court hearing arrived like a storm on the horizon. I walked into the courtroom with Harry by my side, ready to fight for our future. As the proceedings began, Daisy tried to play the doting aunt, her words dripping with insincerity. Peter played the role of the repentant father, but his eyes were cold and calculating. But when Harry spoke, his voice clear and unwavering, the truth shone through. "I want to stay with my mom. She's been there for me when no one else was." The judge's decision came like a ray of sunlight through the clouds, full custody granted to me, with no visitation rights for Peter and Daisy. As we left the courtroom, Peter's face was a mask of rage, and Daisy's eyes burned with malice. But it didn't matter. We had won, Harry and I, together. The victory in court brought a temporary sense of peace, but it was short-lived. Peter and Daisy, like wounded animals, became more desperate and dangerous in their tactics. They started a slanderous campaign, spreading lies and rumors about me in our community. It was a psychological warfare I hadn't anticipated. One evening, Harry came home from school, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Mom, kids at school are saying you stole me from Dad, that you're keeping me away from him because you're mean." My heart broke at his words. "Harry, you know that's not true. Everything I've done to protect you." He nodded, but the doubt was evident in his eyes. "I know, Mom, but it's hard. They don't understand." I hugged him, feeling his small body tremble. "I know it's hard, sweetheart, but we'll get through this. We're stronger than their lies." As the days passed, the rumors grew more vicious. Daisy had always been cunning with her words, and now she used them like a weapon to turn my world upside down. I knew I had to fight back, but I was wary of stooping to their level. Then one day, Peter showed up at my workplace, a facade of remorse plastered on his face. "Maya, can't we just talk about this, for Harry's sake?" His words were like poison, and I could see through his act. "There's nothing to talk about, Peter. You made your choice. Now live with it." He grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "You're ruining my life, Maya. You and that kid." I pulled away, my voice steady. "No, Peter. You did that all by yourself." As I walked away, his parting words sent a chill down my spine. "This isn't over, Maya. I won't give up that easily." The legal victory had given me custody of Harry, but it hadn't ended the war. Peter and Daisy were relentless, and I could see the toll it was taking on Harry. He was caught in the middle of a battle he didn't understand, torn between his biological father and the mother who had never left his side. One night, Harry came to me, his face etched with conflict. "Mom, what if Dad changes? What if he wants to be a real dad?" His words hit me hard. "Harry, I know he's your dad, and it's normal to hope for that. But we have to see people for who they are, not who we want them to be." Harry was silent for a moment, then looked up at me, his eyes clear. "I know. I just wish things were different." I held him close, whispering, "I do too, Harry. I do too." Despite the ongoing battle, I had to ensure that Harry and Lily remained my priority. They were my strength, the reason I fought so hard, and I would do anything to protect them, to give them the life they deserved, free from the shadows of Peter and Daisy's deceit. The relentless campaign by Peter and Daisy took a darker turn, evolving into outright harassment. They seemed to be everywhere, outside my workplace, near Harry's school, always lurking, always watching. It was a psychological siege, and I felt its weight every day. But I refused to be intimidated. It was time to hit back, to make them realize they couldn't trample over our lives without consequences. I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Thompson, my resolve like iron. Mr. Thompson, it's time we take more aggressive legal action. I want to file for a restraining order against Peter and Daisy, and I want to sue them for harassment and defamation, I declared. Mr. Thompson nodded in agreement. I think that's a wise decision, Lord. Their behavior is unacceptable, and it's time they face the legal repercussions. The legal proceedings were grueling, but I stood firm. In court, Peter played the victim, a man wronged by his vindictive ex-wife. Daisy, ever the actress, wept about being denied the chance to be a part of her nephew's life. But their performance couldn't mask the truth. The judge saw through their facade and granted the restraining order. Additionally, they were ordered to pay damages for their defamatory actions. As we left the courtroom, Peter's face was a mask of fury while Daisy's eyes burned with unspoken threats. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I had the law on my side. Their defeat in court, however, did little to quench their vendetta. If anything, it seemed to fuel their spite. One day, I received a chilling phone call from Peter. You think you've won, Maya? You think you can just destroy my life and walk away? I'll make sure you regret this, he hissed through the phone. I clenched my jaw, fighting back the fear his words invoked. You brought this on yourself, Peter. I'm just protecting my family. You haven't seen the last of me, Maya. This isn't over, he spat before hanging up. His threat hung in the air like a toxic cloud, but I wouldn't let it break me. I had Harry and Lily to think about. They were my world, and I would go to any lengths to shield them from Peter and Daisy's malice. But as days turned into weeks, the constant stress began to wear me down. The never-ending vigilance, the fear of what Peter might do next, the pressure of being a single mother, it was all-consuming. One evening, as I put Lily to bed, Harry came to me, his expression somber. Mom, are we going to be okay? Dad sounded really mad on the phone. I pulled him into a hug, my heart aching for the worry he had to bear. We're going to be okay, Harry. I won't let anything happen to us, I promise. But even as I spoke the words, I knew the battle was far from over. Peter and Daisy were like a storm on the horizon, and I needed to be ready for whatever they threw our way. The weeks following the court ruling were a tense and watchful time. Peter and Daisy, now bound by the restraining order, had receded into the shadows. But their silence was more unnerving than their threats. I knew this lull was just the calm before another storm. Then it happened. Daisy, in a move of sheer desperation, orchestrated a public scene. I was picking up groceries when she appeared out of nowhere, screaming accusations. You're a monster, Maya. You've torn our family apart. Daisy wailed, drawing the attention of bystanders. I stood my ground, my voice steady. Daisy, you need to leave. You're violating the restraining order. Her face twisted in rage. I don't care. The world needs to see what kind of person you really are. But her theatrics backfired. The store manager, recognizing the disturbance, called the police. As they escorted a hysterical Daisy away, her image of the wronged aunt crumbled. This public meltdown was the final straw. The police charged Daisy with violating the restraining order and public disturbance. Peter, too, faced consequences. His involvement in the harassment and defamation, now fully exposed, led to his arrest. As I watched them being taken away, a part of me felt a pang of pity. They had descended into their own hell, a pit they had dug with their lies and hatred. But this feeling was quickly overshadowed by a sense of justice. They were finally facing the consequences of their actions. In the aftermath, the community's perception shifted. The truth about Peter and Daisy's deceit and manipulation became apparent. People who had once whispered behind my back now offered their apologies and support. Harry, witnessing the downfall of his father and aunt, had mixed emotions. "Mom, is it wrong to feel happy about Dad and Aunt Daisy getting arrested?" I took his hand, understanding his inner turmoil. "It's okay to feel relieved, Harry. They hurt us a lot, it's okay to want justice for that." The battle that had consumed our lives for months finally seemed to be over. Peter and Daisy, once towering figures of intimidation, were now diminished, their power to harm us stripped away. As I tucked Harry and Lily into bed that night, a sense of peace settled over me. We had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. With Peter and Daisy's legal retribution, a heavy burden lifted from our shoulders. The days seemed brighter, and our home was filled with laughter once again. Harry's smile returned, and Lily's innocent giggles were a balm to our scarred hearts. The community's support was overwhelming, apologies turned into offers of help, and slowly the rumors and whispers faded away. We were rebuilding our lives, piece by piece. But the true testament to our newfound peace came on my birthday. Harry, now more mature and thoughtful, had a surprise for me. He approached with a shy smile, a small gift in his hand. "Happy birthday, Mom. I made this at school for you," he said, handing me a beautifully crafted photo frame. It held a picture of the three of us, smiling and happy. Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged him. "Thank you, Harry. This is the best gift I could ever ask for." Later that day, as we celebrated with a small party, our little family felt whole again. Friends and neighbors joined in, their presence a symbol of the life we had reclaimed. During the party, a new face appeared. It was Ben, a kind and understanding man I had met through my work. His support during our trials had been unwavering, and his presence now felt like a promise of new beginnings. "Happy birthday, Maya. I hope this year brings you all the happiness you deserve," Ben said, his eyes warm and sincere. I smiled, feeling a spark of something new, something hopeful. "Thank you, Ben. It's already off to a great start." As the party wound down, Harry came up to me, a serious look on his face. "Mom, I've been thinking, maybe it's okay to start new things, to be happy again." I knelt down to meet his gaze. "It's more than okay, Harry. We've been through a lot, and we deserve to be happy." He nodded, a small smile gracing his lips. "I like Ben. He's nice, and I think he makes you happy." I hugged him, my heart full. "He does, Harry, and I'm glad you like him." That night, as I put Harry and Lily to bed, I felt a sense of contentment I hadn't known in years. We had faced our demons and emerged victorious. Our future was ours to shape, and it looked bright and full of promise. Life had thrown us into turbulent waters, but we had learned to navigate the storm. Now, it was time to enjoy the calm, to embrace the new dawn that awaited us.